impressive. Apparently, you can use the voice commands to cast spells, or like say sword, and then like your character will whip out his sword.
I'm not sure how much. Like I have hesitations about it. Because sometimes PC games to console turn out really well, right?
Yeah.
Like when the Elder Scrolls started moving over making console games.
Yeah.
But like then sometimes their Battlefield,
or
where Battlefield 3 focused mostly, it seems, on console development, and it wasn't as good as the rest of the series.
Or StarCraft 1 for, I'm not kidding, the Nintendo 64.
There we go. Yeah. So it could go either way. My hope is that it's a success.
It looks like it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
It'll be graphically impressive because they showed the gameplay footage from not the PC version but the Xbox One version. It looked absolutely amazing, and it got a lot of cool things I haven't seen in fantasy games for a long while. Like they had mermaids. When was the last time you saw a mermaid in a game? I can't remember.
I don't think I can either.
You just don't see it. You know what I mean? So this, I was like, oh, mermaids.
And it's
That's
cool.
cool.
Like they're doing something like. Because at a certain point, it seemed like fantasy games have pretty much done all the same stuff. But I like to see something different every now and again.
If I see one more fantasy game that you see the dwarves and the elves are fighting, and the elves are like, "Woe is me, for my time on this earth is done," and then and I'm like, I will flip a table because that is so boring. Stop copying the Tolkien-esque fantasy elements. It was good when Tolkien did it because he did it first, and a couple of other people did it, and it was fun. But when every single dwarf and elf hate each other, and the only magical races in your game are humans, elves, and dwarves, that's boring. Think of something else. Skyrim has like 18 different races.
Yeah, exactly. They have the cat people, for instance.
Yeah, and the lizard people.
And the lizard people. You're a lizard person, aren't you?
In my first playthrough.
In your first playthrough, yeah.
So think of something else.
I'm a Nord in everything.
New game you're probably excited for, Battlefield 4 for all three consoles. And by console I mean PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it the Xbox now.
It's, we can't be saying, like, Xbox One all the time. Yeah. Or Xbone. But have you heard that one?
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Xbone.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Battlefield 4. And Adam showed me the multiplayer trailer last night, and it looked really cool.
It looks like they're gonna have like fully destructible buildings. Like in the trailer, like they had a couple of tanks shelling this building, and the sky, like a skyscraper, collapsed. I mean, but at the same time, as Battlefield, besides like new destructible physics, new graphics and improved like sound design, it's the same game that's been there since Battlefield 2. You know what I mean? There really hasn't been a lot to change the core concept.
The only time they altered it really was. The bad companies were slightly different. They had a different tone.
Yeah.
But the biggest alteration in gameplay was to Battlefield 3, and that was a disaster.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's more like Bad Company 2. That's I
think it has to be because they definitely heard the feedback from Battlefield 3, and so they need to. But Battlefield Bad Company 2 had widely said that it was some of the best multiplayer on console.
Yep.
Certainly on PC.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll
be interesting to see how DICE receives feedback because, we've never really seen a case where they've sort of failed out like they did on this one. Like they did a great job with Mirror's Edge, and they've done a great job with all the other Battlefields. So it'll be interesting to see if they're receptive to feedback or if they're more like, Infinity Ward.
Yeah. There's another game I wanted to talk about called... what was it? Titanfall. Did you see the trailer? I showed you the trailer for that last night.
Yes, yeah. Last night we watched that.
Titanfall is an Xbox 360 and Xbox One exclusive title. Mm-hmm. It's a first-person shooter game. Surprise! There's a lot of that this E3, mostly shooters. Which is a little bit disappointing because I'd like to see a little bit of variation, but that's all right. A lot of the shooters look pretty good, I thought.
Yeah. Titanfall looks good. I mean,
and so it's. Would you say a sci-fi shooter? Would you classify it as that?
Yeah. It's anytime you see mechs, I go with sci-fi.
Yeah. So there are these huge. You can It's kind of like what's that game that you like to play with the jets, and you play it for PlayStation 3? Warhawk. So what was the sequel to that?
Starhawk.
It's kind of like Starhawk, where you have guys on the ground. And you can also fly or pile around big giant mechs and things like that, and. It looked really, really good. You have jetpacks, very, very fluid, open gameplay. It looks like mobility is going to be the word of the day because you saw people jetpacking over buildings or wall running or things like that. And honestly, it looks like a really good game. I'll be picking that one up for the Xbox 360 though.
And I'm glad that there are people and mechs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it if it was just mechs. I get the impression because I'm not a big mech guy.
Oh, I love mechs.
I don't know.
Mechs are the best thing ever.
Mechs, yeah. I like watching them more than I like playing as them. I'm like, oh, this is clunky.
What else? And that's being made. That's being made by Respawn Entertainment. Thief is coming out in 2014 for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. That's the reboot of like the classic PC title. It looks a lot like Dishonored, which Rory, you'll be interesting because I was like, was it your favorite game from 2013?
That was my favorite. My favorite game from 2012.
2012, sorry.
Easily my favorite game from 2012. Just really cool, good replayability, everything good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very, very interesting stuff.
I'm sorry, what game was that?
That's Thief.
Yes, Thief. Yeah, well, yeah, Dishonored, because of course Dishonored, as Yahtzee correctly pointed out, owes a lot to Thief in many ways.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted here. Something bad happened over here on the computers.
Oh, are we good?
We will be good.
Okay.
Just let me fix it.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain them, I guess. So,
all right, cool.
They teased Halo, and by that I mean like they showed it was like a minute-long trailer of this guy with in a cloak wandering through the desert, and then he takes off his hood, and it was Master Chief wearing a poncho. And that was awesome, because Master Chief wearing a poncho was awesome. Apparently, the game is going to be enhanced by cloud computers, 60 frames per second. But they really didn't show anything. It was just a small cinematic teaser trailer, so really no information. They didn't even say Halo 5. They just showed Master Chief, so I don't even know what that means. One last thing I want to say, the Xbox One will launch in November for $499 in the US and 499 euros. So it'll probably be a little bit more expensive for Canadians, but yeah, it'll be around $500 for the core console.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's all the games I have that I really want to talk about for the Xbox One. Did you want to go on the EA games, some of their games, because they announced games that were for both systems? But
yeah, sure, we can do that. Yeah.
So EA and Ubisoft.
Yeah, well, the big one at Ubisoft is that Street one.
Wow, Street Fighter 5.
I don't know what it's called.
Hayuk. No, it's the Division.
The Division. I'm never gonna remember. Yeah, Tom Clancy.
Yeah, so
and we all love Tom Clancy.
It's a new two Tom Clancy games been announced. I mean, they're coming out. There's the new Splinter Cell Blacklist, I think, which I'm not too interested in because I never was a really big fan of Splinter Cell. Not that it's a bad game, but like Metal Gear Solid, I'm just not into that whole kind of like tactical stealth gameplay. Although I will appreciate that the game does look really, really cool.
And it really is a very special type of stealth that those games have too.
Yeah.
It's not the type of stealth you'll find in a Thief or a Dishonored.
Yeah. Which is the more stealth based gameplay that I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that looks good. But the one that we're talking about is one thing for Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Or Splinter Cell Blacklist. They're bringing back Spies vs. Mercs, which apparently was a very popular game type mode.
Right on.
So that'll be back in the new game. They confirmed that in at this E3 conference. But the one I wanted to talk about was The Division. Is a third-person MMO action RPG shooter. I think that's how they classified it on Wikipedia or something like that. Very, very long, confusing title. Looks awesome. What the game's about is... do you want to explain it, Rory? Or?
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Okay. It's about... it's in the future, and it's like if the American government has collapsed because of like a widespread epidemic of like some sort of disease, and so they've created these sleeper agents that are all throughout America that when the American government collapses, they activate, and then they're responsible for like they have to try and rebuild society, and so they have to go out and like save police stations or like evacuate survivors or things like that. And so you play as one of these sleeper agents, and you're working with other sleeper agents to try and like keep society is on the brink of civilization is on the brink of collapsing in America. Like it'll descend into like madness and barbarism. So you're on the so you have to try and like keep civilization and society alive in America, even though the whole country's gone to pot basically. Mm-hmm. That looked really, really cool. Check it out. It's called Tom Clancy's The Division, and that's coming out for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and PC, I believe.
Yeah. Although odds are we'll not be able to run that thing.
No, because we don't have
a little too powerful.
We don't have a computer that's the size of the space monolith and built by the dwarves of Lord of the Rings, and
exactly.
that can run the USS Enterprise.
I can comfortably run Bad Company too. I severely doubt I'll be able to run a new Tom Clancy, which is interesting because I never thought of. Ubisoft is not usually although this game looks really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's sort of, I think, a change for Ubisoft, because Ubisoft usually is not a game that pushes graphical boundaries.
No,
very
they
much.
usually push gameplay.